Do you think the West has passed the point where they can realise that eugenics are needed to ensure a continuation of our culture? Is it still possible in Eastern European countries? Yeah, I think that Eastern European countries are sufficiently nationalistic. The process of dysgenics is, of course, occurring there, according to some tests anyway on intelligence, but it's further behind and they're doing things to slow the process down, which is really, really good. But I think it's an inevitable process. I don't think they're going to be able to stop it, short of eugenic policies, but I think they're slowing it down. Are we past the point, though? I mean, this is what Bruce Charlton seems to think, that we're so destroyed genetically, it's just hopeless. It wouldn't even work if we tried. What do you think?
Well, the thing about eugenics is it's coupled with group selection. The first wave eugenics movement flourished at a time when there were very high levels of group selection. We don't have a high level of group selection, so we can't ecologically sustain those attitudes anymore. So, instead we have anti-eugenics. That's the dominant set of attitudes. People insist on value equality among traits and diversity and all this sort of thing. Those beliefs are very well adapted to a regime of individual level selection, but they destroy the fitness of society as a superorganism. So, what do you think is going to happen when people get their hands on genetic engineering technologies? They are going to pick traits adaptive to their current ecology. So, my view is that unless you can get group selection going again, which might be very bad because of atomic weapons and things, then we're not going to get a eugenic mindset back again, like we had in the 20s and 30s.
So it could be argued that in some ways, because of the threat of nuclear apocalypse, the atomic weapon was the death knell of group selection, and thus the death knell of eugenics.
Well, I'd say actually that climate change was the death knell of eugenics, because under a condition of a mild environment, you have more survival among individuals who ordinarily wouldn't survive, who would be vulnerable to ecological instability. So, you have the reversal of these fertility gradients for traits like intelligence, because people with low intelligence are no longer vulnerable to ecological shocks. They can produce offspring with abandon, and actually in excess of the number of offspring produced by people with high ability. That's what ecological mildness does, essentially.
But the Industrial Revolution, it's not just climate change, though. If we hadn't had the Industrial Revolution and we had this warm period, it wouldn't be as bad, would it?
Well, maybe not, but the warm period itself is associated with relaxed intergroup competition. So basically, you need intergroup competition for selection gradients to be present within the group that promote these so-called socially desirable traits. You need the threat of being wiped out at the group level for people to actually value eugenic traits. I mean, why do we consider things like high IQ and good character and health to be socially desirable? Well, we don't actually anymore. If you look at neurodiversity and anti-psychiatry and all these anti-eugenics movements, you can see that people don't believe eugenic traits are socially valuable anymore. Why did they believe these traits were socially valuable in the past? Well, the reason was because it meant the difference between being able to produce offspring and not being able to produce offspring under conditions of cold selection and under conditions of high intergroup competition. This whole preference set of values.
So we socially value extroversion now because extroversion is associated with fertility?
Extroversion is certainly something that women do prefer in their offspring. We know that because of the von Stamm study.
Yes, but if you were going to socially value things that cause fertility, then you'd socially value religiousness and stupidity now. But we don't value stupidity.
Yes, I think to an extent we do.
We socially value stupidity?
Stupidity. Yes, religiousness, no. Because with religiousness, we basically are looking at a group-selective adaptation, which is no longer beneficial now after the collapse of group selection. With respect to intelligence, it's clear that there is no real value or premium placed on intelligence in modern populations. Highly intelligent people are critically underutilized. Part of the reason for that is because they tend to be more group selected. So therefore they tend not to be able to flourish under an ecological context, which places a fitness premium on individually selected traits. And we know from the expressed or manifest preferences of women in hypothetical offspring traits, that is what traits would you put into your offspring if you were able to do so. They don't value intelligence, they don't value conscientiousness, they don't even value agreeableness. They value extroversion, which contains dominance and venturesomeness and other sociopathic facets, which are conducive to success in a cutthroat world.